Hey, what's up, guys? So, just gonna do a another tournament report today for a tournament I went on Friday, which I think was the fifth. So, yeah, this one was a eight-man tournament with my friend, and he was playing Narset Combo. I'm playing I'm still playing Esper, obviously, but yeah, he's playing Narset Combo, Mono Blue Narset Combo. I'm playing Esper, and yeah, we went. So yeah, just kind of reporting on how we did today or a couple days ago. So um yeah, eight-man tournament. I think it was 3 rounds. Yeah, 3 rounds. And yeah, I'll kind of give you the backdrop here. So game one, I go against a Boros Burn. So they got Luris' companion. Um, Not much super crazy thing happened. I think game one was pretty it went pretty smoothly for me. I got out. I had like I think I drew like three prismatic endings my opening hand. Plus like I eventually drew into like a fatal push and stuff later. So whatever threats that they put on early game, like I think they went Goblin Guide um into like Eidolon or you know the idol card, and I was able to basically kind of just remove everything, and eventually they had burn spells in the hand. I was kind of low. I was like it was like 5 or 6 maybe, but I had snapcasters and counter spells, so I was pretty well positioned to just kind of counter any burn they had. And so yeah, they tried to burn me a few times. I snapcasted a few times, and eventually I my I started smacking with a snapcaster, and I had my man lands available. I think I had both the choice of Hall of the Storm or Celestial Colonnade here, and I think I was at maybe 7 or 8 mana. It was a kind of a long game, game one, just because the burn play was pretty close to the edge of victory, but couldn't quite close out. I stabilized, and they ran out of steam, and I basically that's how game one went. Game two, um, they decided weirdly, a little weird against me, but I think that based off of what they saw off my deck, they made the correct siding decisions, I think. But they for me, I sided in a bunch of Aether Gus, more Kaya's Guild, some Kaya's the Usurper here and Sanctifier is what I think I sided in. And I took out a bunch of like what did I take out? Yeah, I took out like Jace, Teferi, any card that I thought was kind of slow, I kind of took out. I think I took out Cryptics. Cryptics were too expensive to play. I think I took out one dam or something like that. And yeah, that was kind of what I took out. And I took out all the ops because they were playing Eidolon, Eidolon, I think it's the card name. The card that it's a 2 mana drop. Um, and you get burned every time you play a CMC 3 or lower spell. Yeah, so I took out all the ops because I figured, I'm just gonna burn myself for two if I opt well, they have Eidolon on the board. So yeah, I took all that out. Um, and so yeah, the game starts off. I think the goal Goblin Guide again. I think I had a prismatic ending and a fatal push or something in my hand, so took the 2 damage. I think I ended up drawing lands like both times they Goblin Guide me, which was nice. I was kind of like a little worried. I think I had like 2 lands or something, 2 or 3 lands, but the Goblin Guide, I guess, helped drew me a land. So I was like, all right, cool. So I get rid of that. I think they turned to Rest in Peace me. So I guess that was a little strange, but not really, because I think they saw the Snapcasters first game doing a bit of work, so they were afraid of Snapcasters. So they sided in um, sided in the rest in peace, thinking that I would need my graveyard more to win. I wasn't expecting that rest in peace, so my snapcasters were just essentially just 2-1s at this point, but that was fine. Um I wasn't too worried because I did have like uh sanctifier and stuff like that on the board, or sided in, boarded in, and stuff like that. So I still had some creature presence that were gonna do something. But anyways, so yeah, it goes back and forth. They try to play the enchantment. I forgot the name of the enchantment, but it's an enchantment where every upkeep it pings the player, and that player can't gain life or whatever. So they were gonna play that, but I think I end up like um I play I think charm to counter it, and I was like okay that's fine. Um, but I guess as the game went on, I think I drew like two or three Kaya's Guiled, which was pretty nice. I kept just sacrificing their monsters and healing with the Kaya's Guiled, and eventually I went and found a Solitude. I snapped into Solitude, you know, smacked them with the Solitude. I think they tried to bolt my Solitude, but I Aether Gust it, and I had a 3 fairy on it, so they Aether Gust it, the bolt, and the bolt went on back on top of their deck because they knew I still had the Solitude on board, that I was just gaining life off of it. Um, and so what I did is I had a 3 mana Teferi on board, and I think it was like at 5 or whatever. So I decided to go ahead and snap the Solitude back to my hand. So they drew the bolt, and there wasn't really much on board to bolt except for the Kaya's tokens and stuff like that. Um, so I think that's how the game essentially just kind of went. It was like they were trying to play around the Solitude. They couldn't really make use of Loris too much because they were under prismatic ending, or sorry, under the rest in peace. Not my rest in peace. I didn't cite rest in peace in, but they had their own rest in peace. So, but they added Loris and tried to Loris or something, and I just kind of solituded in response. But with solitude in my hand, and I also like played Kaya like turn 4 or something and ate like 2 bolts, which was nice. The more that Kaya eats up the damage, it's fine with me. Like if they spend bolts and attacking my planeswalker rather than my face, I'm okay with that. So game two ends up closing out with a win for me. So I 2-0 the first game, which is against Burn. Game two was definitely rough for me here. It was against another Boros Burn, but this time I think I drew a lot worse than I did against the first Burn player. Game one goes pretty rough. They go first. They got Goleman Guide. I don't think I saw much removal in my hand. I had like 2 opt or something like that. I already had a mulligan. Turn two, I think I used something to kill Goleman Guide. I think a prismatic and ending Goleman Guide. All right, that was my first turn. They go first. Goleman Guide me. I draw a land or whatever. I prismatic ending just the Goleman Guide. They turn two Eidolon me, and I had 2 ops in hand. So I was like shit. I don't know if I'm able to be able to cast these ops anymore. They're dead in my hand. Um, and I didn't see removal for like I think the rest of the game kind of thing. Or I had like 3 mana to fairy. Didn't really answer to his board. Couldn't really get stabilized because I just couldn't answer the Eidolon without being able to use my ops to draw. Um, yeah, I kind of went south there, so I ended up just dying game one. So game two, I kind of did the same thing. I sided in what I did against the first burn player. I opened up my hand. It was a risky keep, but I think I kept it, and I think that it was kind of a mistake. I didn't really. The reason why I should have, I think, Mulligan, even though I had a decent hand against, like, it's a playable hand, but it didn't have enough interaction. I think. I had like I think 2 Teferi plus a Kaya, and not much else per se. I think. Well, I took out all the ops, but the cards in my hand were a little slow, but I decided to keep. Um, and what it went back and forth for a bit, but what killed me was that eventually he got 2 idols on board that I just couldn't answer with efficiently. I did have like a prismatic ending in the grave, and I had Snapcaster, and it was at 4 mana, but he had two idols on board. It's like, do I take 4 and try to kill one idol, or do I try to do something else? Um, and it was just rough. Like there was a bunch of decisions during that game that I think I could have made better, maybe. Like such taking my first mulligan, maybe getting a better hand, or fighting some hard removal rather than just like a Teferi. Kaya did kill a Swift's foot, but she was a little too slow because he had two creatures on board. He had Swift's foot and Eidolon. And I decided to kill the Swift Spoot first and deal with the Eidolon after, but he eventually dropped another Eidolon on me, and I just like, oh crap, now I'm facing down two of them, and my hand isn't really um got the cards to deal with two of them on board. I didn't have a dam, I didn't have any other fatal pushes or prismatic endings or anything like that that could efficiently deal with it. I think what killed me is he goes in for an attack. I try to cast Guile. I think he plays another burn spell that didn't allow me to heal. I forgot what the name was of the burn spell. But yeah, he goes in combat and that's how he finishes me off there. So yeah, rough game against the second burn player. They two ult me. So oh well. I don't think I would ever really main deck any um real side deck against burn. Like I have some recovery in the deck, life recovery in the deck already, and can kind of stabilize somewhat. It's honestly just a toss up against burn. Like if they go first and they draw a godly hand, and I draw really slow, then yeah I die. If I draw a good hand with a lot of removal and a lot of counter like counter spells later trickled in, then I win. I can easily stabilize, and that's how my experience is against burn. So I I've played maybe 4 or 5 different burn decks, mostly mono red, or like either mono red or um Boros Burn. Boros Burn I have a good matchup against. Mono red, oh Drowsy was the one where I was having a lot more difficult time with. That was kind of back and forth too. But I think Boros Burn I have like, I wouldn't say a slightly over 50% chance win rate against Boros Burn. Probably like 55 to 60% win rate, I think. And this is just going based off of memory. This was the first time I think they just too old me. I never gotten too old by a burn. If I do play against burn, it's usually like a 2-1 or 1-2, pretty back and forth, and it kind of just depends on um who goes first and who draws well and stuff like that. But I don't think I would ever side like main deck any side against burn. I think Kai's Guile is generally pretty decent, and both Kyle's that gain you health is fairly decent. Aether Gust is to remove any like enchantments they have on the board. Toss their Boris Charm or whatever back on top of the deck, force them to use it again. Stuff like that. You have a Sanctifier as a blocker and stuff like that. So I think against the Boros Burn matchup, this deck is fairly well positioned. What I would have liked more would be like a second Solitude in the deck. I think I am gonna try to pick up a second Solitude just to try it out. Um, I unfortunately my subtlety didn't come in this weekend, so I couldn't try out the subtlety yet. So my subtleties are coming in on Monday, which is the 7th, I think. And so I haven't got to try out the subtleties yet. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna go ahead and try out when I do get them. But I think I do want another Solitude, and I'll probably cut down like a Cryptic Command for a Solitude or something. The rest of my removal lineup I have liked so far. Like it's worked pretty well against basically everything that I played against. So I think um so far my mana base has worked pretty well. There's probably a couple of tweaks I could do with the mana base. I could probably play uh more filter lands, but I don't think I want to pay like $30 for another I don't know Mystic Gate. Um, so I'm just sticking with what I have here. I still like the black in the deck. Like the black's still done pretty well for me. Yeah, it does make the some stuff a little awkward, but I like my 3 color decks. So there you go. So that was game two. Now game three. So far my friends played against. I think he played against Grixis. Grixis mid range. He beats Grixis mid range, and then game two he plays against Belcher Combo, and he beats Belcher Combo. And now he's playing mono blue, so like we test played against each other a bit, and kind of help develop each other's deck. And he's playing the Narset combo with Days Undoing. So um, kind of brief like rundown of his deck. It's like he gets Narset, tries to get Days Undoing, and he has a bunch of free spells in his hand to. So even if he doesn't have Narset and he does Day Undoing, he usually has a Subtlety and Force Negation in his hand to kind of back it up. But yeah, so that's what he's doing. And yeah, I guess he had a pretty good game against Grixis um, mid range there, and he squeaks out a win against them. And against Belcher, we're playing. He's playing like 20 counter spells, so Belcher has a hard time dealing with that. So my final game is against Belcher, against the player he plays, and obviously you know Control should have a pretty good matchup against Belcher, and yeah. So our game one, I think he goes first. He does some stuff. I think I drew pretty bad against him. I didn't really have much interaction. I had a cryptic command as my only like real interaction there in my opening hand and stuff like that. And so my hand was pretty terrible, and I was kind of like hard pressed for land. I should have just mulligan or whatever. Because I think I drew like fatal pushes and damn. At that time, I didn't really know if I was playing against Belcher. But he talked about it, and I was like, okay. Like when we sat down at the table, he was saying how he played against Mono Blue, and I was he played against my friend, and he had a bad time against that. I was like, oh, if he had a bad time against that, then he's probably some sort of combo deck. So he didn't say exactly what combo he was playing, but I was like, okay, he's combo deck. I probably should have aggressively mulliganed my hand to get counter spells, but I didn't. So, but I had like two ops and some other stuff. So, anyways, turn four. I think I was I missed two land drops or some crap like that, or one land drop. So turn four, his turn. Um, I think he goes into. I think he recrossed the paths on turn three. Turn four, he goes Soul Reforge. He miracles it off the top of his deck because I think he recrossed the path. I didn't have any counterspell. Like I think I used my counterspells on something else, and so I had like what two opt. I think a big Jace in my hand. This Jace and like a fatal push or a dam or something. So I had 4 mana open. Um, and I guess I debated on opting twice to see if I can get a counterspell to counter his Soul Reforge. But I was like, YOLO, like my hand's already bad enough. And if I draw into Archmage's Charm or a Cryptic Command or a Counterspell or something, I can still, stabilize and recover. And so I let the will go off, and we draw 7. And I think he goes into a ritual to try to come off. But I did draw 2 counterspells because I didn't see any counterspells yet. And so I countered both his cards that he tries to play during that turn, and he doesn't storm off or he doesn't combo off. So my turn, I draw. I think I drew into an Archmage's Charm or something like that. And I think from here on, at least game one, um, I didn't really have any creature presence because I was mostly just holding up my mana and just threatening to counter everything that he played. And I think like he goes and passes his turn or something. I Archmage Charm myself to draw 2 and draw more. And I think like I ended up Teferrying just the down tick Teferi to draw. And I kept drawing a lot of cards, and I think I just drew into a bunch of counter spells. So yeah, he couldn't. I think he combos off one with the red pack of something, and I think we kind of misplayed. But I think during his upkeep, if he forgets to pay for the red pack, because I think he summons a token and sacrifices a token for a ritual or whatever, but I counter the ritual. But he forgets to pay for the red pack. Um, and so I think we reversed the game state. I was okay with just reversing the game state. I'm not that mean, so I allow him to pay because he does have 5 lands, so he could have paid for the cost of the pack, but we both forgot about it. And as he was trying to, I think, do something, and then I just remembered, oh, did you pay for practice upkeep? And he's like, oh shit, I didn't pay for it. And he said he would just lose, and I was like, oh, it's okay, man. Like you can, if you wanted to, you can just go back to the upkeep and pay for it. I don't mind. So we do that, it's chill, So he pays for the pack, ends his turn. I go. I don't really have much in my hand. I think I just cryptic command one of his land, draw a card or some shit. I think I was running out of like counter spells. And cryptic was kind of expensive. So I think I end up playing a Teferi. Um, I figured he probably has like a pack of negation or something on in hand too or something like that. So I think that's fairy, and I drew into a counter spell. Um, and so I think he couldn't get his combo off safely with Teferi on board, even with if he had pack of negation. So I think from there, um, he was at like maybe 11 health or something. I had Storm Giants plus a one or two Snapcasters on board, and I think I attack him twice for like 7 or 9 damage twice, and close out the game that way. So yeah, so that was game one. There was a yeah, both me and him kind of misplayed a little bit, I think, but that's fine. So game two, um, I think I sided in triple Aether Gust, Dovin's Veto, um, and Sanctifier Invict because I knew he was playing Revels and Riches and some other stuff from the red cards in the graveyard, and so I was like, all right, I could remove his graveyard. I didn't want to play Rest in Peace because I wanted my Snapcasters available to snap the counter spells in my grave, so I didn't play Rest in Peace. But I think I kept the Kaya's Guile in my deck just in case I needed to instant speed remove his graveyard. But I think that's why I did. And I think what I took out was I took out like obviously all the creature hate. I took out all the dams. I took out Fatal Push. I think I took out Solitude. Um, I think I took out what else did I take out? I took out one or two prismatic endings. Um, prismatic ending is um obviously not that great in this matchup, but there's a few things I thought he would have maybe played that I still would have liked to see a prismatic ending. I think even game one, I think I prismatic ending a treasure token just so he couldn't go off. Um, because I think he revels in the riches or whatever to make the treasure token, and I just prismatic ending the treasure token. It's like, all right, I'm not giving you mana to go off the turn after, and I think that slowed him down. So I was like, all right, I'll keep it in the prismatic ending, one or two, I think two copies of it, and then I side everything else in. Um, so he goes off first again. Um, he does something. I think a Dovin's Veto. I think he tries to recast the path. I Dovin's Veto the card. Um, because that's one of my counter spells. And then I think he um goes into like I guess I forget what he does exactly, but I slapped down the Teferi as soon as possible. I as soon as it was safe to play the Teferi, I Teferi'd immediately because I knew he had a pack of negation, and I think he was trying to combo off. But he had Veil of Summers too, and I had the Teferi, so like I was able to still counter a lot of his stuff. I think there was one point where he could have gone off, but I think he miscounted one mana, and with Teferi on board, I think he should have maybe Veil of Summers first, and then try to do something. That way, his spells were uncounterable. Um, like I think he was reactively thinking to play a spell to bait something out, to bait a counter spell out, and then play Veil Summoner at sorcery speed just to draw a card, and then make his spell uncounterable. But he was off by one mana, so he couldn't combo off with the ritual anymore. And so I think that was a misplay. But I still had two open mana. I had a choice of either counter spell or Aether Gust. So even if he resolved the Veil of Summers and played a red ritual, I think I was fine. I would have just Aether Gust the ritual, and he would have that would have shut him off too. I think he had the 3 mana ritual or something. I forget, like I forget exactly what card he had, but I had the Aether Gust, so I felt safe regardless of if I was under a Veil or not. Obviously he couldn't pack negation any of that stuff because he's under Teferi. But so yeah, so that kind of goes like that. So I think he does resolve one. I think I do allow one Recosta path to resolve, But at that point, I had so many counter spells. I think he tries to reforge the soul like twice or something like that, and I counterspell it both times. He tries to Agademing or the red mod land where you shuffle your hand back and draw X card. I allowed that to resolve because I think he already knows what 5 cards he has on his deck. He's trying to draw into it. I was like, okay, that's fine. I had enough counterspell. So regardless, I think um, by like turn 6 or 7 or whatever, I think he concedes the game because I think he just wasn't drawing the outs to the obviously he couldn't out my Teferi on board because with the pack negation, he couldn't combo off, and the way he organized his deck with Recross the Path, I don't think within the next couple of like turns he was gonna draw any of his like rest of his combo to go off from there. So yeah, that was my game. So I 2-0 the Belcher player, and yeah, so I ended up in third place, I think. My friend ended up playing the Burn player I lost to, and they before the game started, they decided to intentionally draw just to split the winnings, but they play it out, and my friend does technically lose to the Burn player that I lost to. We're both control players, and we both have a shit time against Burn, as control, but whatever, So, um, uh, yeah, he does lose to that. So he technically placed second. I technically placed third, and the Burn player technically goes first. But either way, so that the both our losses was the same Burn player, and yeah, so not a bad tournament for me. I think just playing against two Burns and having at least a 50-50 win rate against them, and playing against combos. So that was pretty good. So that's all I got today. So I think this Monday, some of my cards are coming in, and I think I'll go out this Monday and Tuesday to play some more modern. I think this next weekend though, I'm probably gonna be playing some Yu-Gi-Oh since the new ban list comes into effect on Monday. So I think I'll actually head out to play some actual Yu-Gi-Oh um tournaments and maybe do some reports on that. I think I might take out my Necros deck and play in case if anyone plays both Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and they're interested. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next time.